Recording. Welcome everybody to Transformational Tuesdays. I'm Teresa Velardi, your hostess for this time of inspiration, education, motivation, and conversation focused on key ingredients necessary to create positive change in our lives, which I call transformation, and I'm sure you do too. So if you are hearing the sound of my voice or seeing my face, you are already in a transformational conversation of your own. So I invite you to continue that with us every week as we bring you transformational conversations that are going to help to bring you into a better space of living your life authentically as well as your business. So we do personal development, we do spiritual growth, we do business development. So Transformational Tuesdays is your one-stop shop for everything that you need when living in your most authentic life. So, and for those of you who have come here for the first time, I hope that you have gone on transformationaltuesdays.com and downloaded your free gift, which is 7 Keys to Authentic Transformation. If you haven't done that, please go to transformationaltuesdays.com and get that gift from me as my thank you for being part of this conversation and this growing community. So welcome everybody. And Beth, hi. Let me just tell people a little bit about who you are. So let me just share your bio with them. So for everyone who doesn't know Beth Johnston, she is an entrepreneur of the truest kind, known for her creative thinking in tandem with a strong mathematical mind. Beth has started and sold 3 businesses. She's a published author, a coach, a consultant, and a mentor, and has been an invited speaker at graduate level classes and business events. As the oldest daughter in a large family, Beth says she was born into management and learned good listening skills sitting around the dining room table. As a believer that need an opportunity are a winning combination, Beth is eager to take on new solution-based projects that serve large communities and fill niches. At her core, it is the belief, that cooperation trumps competition and that collaborative relationships are not only smart, but sensible. Teamwork provides engagement, empowers, and leverages opportunities for faster growth, production, and output. Beth is the founder, as we know, of the International Women's Leadership Association and currently serves as its executive director and continues to do motivational coaching. As the managing editor of Inspirational Women magazine, Beth sees yet another opportunity to be of service to women around the world through IWM's thematic editorial format combined with articles featuring outstanding women of leadership. And this is yet another way that the IWLA promotes ongoing communication for women, by women, and about women. So welcome, Beth Johnston. So good to have you here.
Thank you, Teresa Velardi. It is always wonderful to speak with you. And hello to all the other women who have taken the time to join us today. We so appreciate that.
Yes, we do. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us, whether it's in video and audio or however you have decided to be present today. So thank you. So Beth, your bio says a tremendous amount about you and about your skills as a leader. And as you know, when we put up the information about you, we are going to be talking about leading from abundance, leading through abundance. And I believe that is how you lead. So let's talk a little bit first about the IWLA and tell me how you developed this. Tell me how, how women can be involved in the IWLA, just to give people an overview of what the IWLA is.
Okay, thank you so much. Love talking about the International Women's Leadership Association. It was my very strong belief a number of years ago that women needed an exclusive platform where they have the opportunity to speak very openly, very candidly. Perhaps everybody can relate to this. I certainly can. Being in a room of a majority of, or all women, let's say 50 women, 100 women, one man walks in, the dynamic changes. So it was my experience, my belief, and more so than ever, that in the company exclusively of other women, women are able to communicate perhaps more honestly, certainly more openly, more candidly. And that really was the genesis of the IWLA, to create that exclusivity for women. Now, I say exclusivity, I only mean as far as gender. The IWLA is open to all women at all stages of personal and or professional development. We are on 6 continents and can say, not many can, that we've been to the 7th continent, as one of our members went to the Antarctic. And I said, bring a sign. And she did, and held it up and said the IWLA was here. So we've been on 7 continents, and very proud to say that. One of the advantages of one of the advantages of the IWLA is being that reliable, ready go-to resource, that when you need a resource and then you begin to look for it, often it's too late. So you need to know where your resources are at all times and know that you have access to them on demand. So that is the premise from which we created the platform of the IWLA. And it clearly, we serve tens of thousands of women, all levels of education, all areas of expertise, varying years of experience in their field. And it is that exchange of, as you're climbing, you're reaching back and pulling somebody else up with you. That is the true spirit of women everywhere. In a nutshell, to leave the world a better place, to make a difference. And individually, women certainly make a difference every day. Collectively, we become that energy, that unstoppable force that really can help things happen much more quickly. As the voice, when I say gets louder, I mean that it strengthens. And that really is the entire reason that the IWLA exists. It is the entire reason why women from all around the world engage in it. And we move, we're flexible, we grow. Every time a new member comes in, if she's speaking with me, it enlightens me. And I think we're going to kind of, I just realized, tie that into the whole thing of leadership. And knowing why anybody exists, and knowing what your purpose is, and leading toward the goals of your own mission. So that is the ideal perspective of the International Women's Leadership Association.
And I will take myself off mute. Everything that you said leads into what I see here as your mission statement, which, if it's okay with you, I'm going to read for everybody. It is the purpose, the passion, and the plan of the International Women's Leadership Association to unite aspiring women from around the world and provide useful, meaningful resources to every mother, daughter, sister, and friend that enhance their opportunity to reach their greatest level of personal and professional development, and in so doing, make it possible for every woman to realize her goals, her potential, and her dreams. And I love that. I love what you said about, you know, everybody making a difference. And from a leader, whether we're talking about whether you're in a leadership standpoint or role, or taking a leadership role in your life, or at any other standpoint, I think that it's important for women to recognize that they are making a difference. And I know, Beth, this is a conversation that you and I have had. You know, every one of us is significant in some way. Let's talk about that for a minute, because even in that, I always go to my whiteboard, and I'll talk about that in a second. Even with that, we have to be significantly doing something that makes the world a better place, whether it's in our families, whether it's in our job. Let's talk about women and significance so that they can then step up to a leadership role.
That's a loaded question. That's a big question. We could talk about that. Certainly you and I can. Ad infinitum. It's a big question. Everybody is of significance. Everybody has a role to play. Everybody has a proper place. It's almost like putting a puzzle together. Each piece is unique. Sometimes you can ram one piece into the other, but it's not going to create the picture of that's destined to be the actual picture. So it's it's being a piece and playing your part, fitting in where you best fit in. So when that whole puzzle comes together, it is the most beautiful picture that it can be. It's not distorted. It's not crazy. It's a beautiful finished picture. So I want every woman to recognize her own greatness, her own leadership, whether it's potential or actual or circumstantial, because there are so many different types of leadership. And we could do, and we will be doing leadership workshops on that so people can identify their own leadership type, their own leadership skill set, their own leadership level, and then move forward and enhance, what it is based on what their own goals are. So please, every woman recognize that, first of all, leadership is relative. If you're in a household, if you're a mother, you're a leader. You're leading your children. If you live alone, you're a leader. You're leading yourself, because you have to understand your daily purpose, your daily goals, and move yourself toward them. Leadership is not necessarily being the speaker on a call like this. It's not the person who has to be in control of the most number of people. It's not the person who gets to have the final say on anything. That's not at all necessarily what leadership is. Leadership is being in your moment and serving your best purpose here and now to get you just to the next step. And once there, then you continue to move forward. I think what happens, Teresa, and I speak to so many magnificent women, and their aspirations are monumental, and they're honorable, and they're valuable, and they're necessary, but they're looking at the whole picture at once, which can become quite overwhelming, as easily imagined. And all it is staying in motion and taking one step at a time. Honor your own potential, move at your own speed, and always keep your eye on the goal.
Love it. I love it. And I heard you say being in your moment and serving your best purpose in that moment, which I think that for the most part, when people talk about leadership, you said it yourself, they think about having groups of people following them, or being some sort of a guru. Now, I don't know if you saw the Tony Robbins movie that he just that's out on Netflix. If you've seen it, and you raise your hand. But he says, I am not your guru. He is just somebody who's helping you along on your path to the most authentic, most abundant life that you can live. So let's, when we put this out for people to sign up, we asked a couple of questions, and I want everybody to think of this as we move forward in this conversation. Are you feeling depleted in your role as a leader, or you're leading from a place of overflow? And I know this is true for me, and anybody who feels it's true, you can just raise your hand. As women, we tend to overdo and run ourselves into the ground. Leadership roles of today's women come in all sizes, shape, colors, and categories, and the female leaders of today are full to overflowing with skills, knowledge, experience, and expertise that are changing lives of those around them, and ultimately creating a ripple effect on the world. And that's my opinion. We are all connected. So when we do something that changes our own life or the life of somebody else, we are changing the life of the people around the world. It's a ripple effect, and we span out from ourselves. So that being said, I want to ask you, let's talk about the leading from the place of overflow. What's been your experience, and what can you offer to the listeners and the viewers from this aspect of leadership, and not leading from that place of depletion, instead leading from the place of overflow rather than a place of feeling depleted?
Again, wow, big questions we have here. It is a woman's nature. And it's one of the most magnificent parts of our natures, is to be givers, to be pleasers. It's a small word, no, but it's an important word that women have to learn to use. There was just a wonderful article, I read it yesterday, about women, and it's on our Facebook, by the way, so please go to the IWLA Facebook page and read this, about learning how to say no, and why it's important for women not only to find their voice, but sometimes to use it and to say no. Can't do that now. It's not part of my purpose. Women are willing to shift into everybody else's purpose in that moment. And that takes them away from their own purpose in that moment. Women need to prioritize. And there's a very polite, feminine way of saying it. I would love to help you, but I can't do it now. Perhaps I can connect you to someone else who could be of greater value to you now. You know what? In 2 weeks, if you come back to me, give me some time to think about it. Women have to realize this. I experience it so often, is that women get things done. We are doers. And a lot of times, guess what? I hate to say it. People, and you know the saying, if you want something done, ask a busy person.
Mm-hmm.
They're dumping their stuff on you because they know you're not going to say no. So when you feel like, and I've had to say no, I can't do it now. I'm capable of doing it. I want to help you. I know that I can help bring you great results, but I can't do it now. You're allowed to say that, because when you deplete yourself, you have nothing left to give. And what you think you're giving, you're not giving your best potentially, and you're not doing it for the right reasons. You're not serving the right purpose. You're not serving, and guess what? The right purpose is yourself. Women have to get that. Women have to get that. Is that what's most important to you? You're allowed to prioritize what's most important to you. You're allowed to control your own life. Guess what? You must control your own life. So if you're coming from leadership overflow, meaning you're depleted, your abundance is, guess what? You have nothing left to give. Mm-hmm. So how effective a leader do you think you can be when you're experiencing that sense? You're, believe it or not, your mind is more busy thinking of everything that you're not doing, as opposed to being focused and doing little bits at a time. That, guess what? Open you up and give you the opportunity to be more abundant to more people when it's the right time for you. So prioritizing is so important. Now, in the real world, we know that things happen that are unplanned. If you always have some of that abundance left, if you're not at zero, if you're not depleted, when those moments arrive, and they will, you have something to give. But when those moments arrive and you have nothing left to give, is when you're not contributing your best. You have that conflict. I'm not helping, I'm not doing, and that's all very, very much what women are all about. So please learn to say no, prioritize. I'm a list. I write lists. Sometimes I have to move things around. Sometimes at the end of the day, everything's closed. Sometimes it's not. I have to carry it over. And guess what? Sometimes at the end of the day, something that's on that list that didn't get done, I realize I don't need to take it to the next day. I thought it was important in that moment, but that moment is gone. I wake up, I start a new day. I have a new purpose that day. I'm going toward a new goal that day. And I don't mean to sound like, you just recreate yourself every day. You honor yourself every day. You honor your energy. You honor your skills. You honor your capacity. And you must honor your own priorities. And that was, I have a dear, dear friend, like a sister to me. And she was called upon by every committee in her neighborhood to serve on this, serve on that. And certainly she had the capability, the skill set, even the want to be able to do it. But she said, every time I do that, it's taking me away from my own family. All these things, all these committee things are like during the dinner hour. She said, I think women are volunteering for this so that, they're putting TV dinners in front of their own kids and going out and serving somebody else. You got to look at that and say, is that the right priority for you? If it is, God bless you, go do it. But if you're uncomfortable doing it, if you're afraid to say no, you will hit that point of, as you're saying, abundance overflow, leadership overflow. And guess what? You cannot be an effective leader when you are in that state of mind. You can't.
Yeah, I agree with you completely. And I love the saying no. And a couple of things to add to that. When you say no to something, you are allowing yourself to say yes to something else. So I would suggest that you say yes to yourself, to an opportunity to fill up your cup. So how does that look? Fill up your cup. Maybe go get a manicure. It's something to add to you rather than take away from you. Sit outside on a beautiful day, have a cup of tea, iced tea, whatever. These little things that we tend to put off for ourselves and make us not think about who we are, and take care of ourselves. Something as simple as a glass of iced tea out on the porch. Get away from in front of the computer, ladies. I'm saying that to myself, Beth.
I know. And you know what? I love that you brought that up. When I'm doing workshops, every evening when we end, and I say good evening to the wonderful women who participated that day, I say, go and do something nice for yourself. And sometimes people look like what? Like it's not even, they're not even conscious. I say, light a candle, read a book, call a friend who's been in your heart and on your mind that you haven't had the chance to call. And every morning, the next morning, I say, what did you do? And they're excited. People say, one woman said, I drew a bath, a bubble bath, and I drank a bottle of beer in the bubble bath. And I thought,
when was the last time she did that before that's the question. When was the last time she did that before you suggested she do something good for herself?
A bottle of beer in a bubble bath? I mean, really, I thought that was brilliant, but it might not be what everybody would want to do, but it was important. She said, I love a bubble bath and I love beer. So she said, I said, brilliant. Good for you. Good for you. And it's simple things. It doesn't have to be big things. The other thing, it kind of came to mind when we're talking about this, is that too many women, some near and dear to my heart, play the role of victim and or martyr. And neither one of them serves anybody. Neither one of them serves anybody, and especially, again, not yourself. No one needs you to be a victim. No one wants you to be a martyr. If you put yourselves in that position, all you are doing is focus on everything that's negative, and what you're really doing is reinforcing everything that's not getting done.
Right.
What people are doing to you, as opposed to what you're permitting people to do to you. Mm-hmm. So again, that's accountability. We've spoken about that on many, it's a vicious cycle and circle, Teresa. All of these things come together. Again, it's that big puzzle. And each one of these is just one of those pieces. And each woman is one of those pieces.
Exactly. So I welcome your comments in the chat box. And if you have something that you can think of that fills you up, put it in the chat box so we can share it with everybody else. And we're going to open the call. Would you believe it's almost 12:30 already?
Don't even believe that.
So if you have a question or a comment and you want to raise your hand or put something in the chat box or text me at 570-230-4185. If you're on the phone, I will recognize you and I will open your line for comment with Beth. So one of the things, I just want to add this because I found this to be very helpful. And if anybody else is doing this, raise your hand. Who's doing coloring? I love coloring. You want to fill up your cup? I see somebody, Catherine, I see your hand. I love coloring. Philomena has her hand up. So it just, for some reason, it's like very soothing. It's creative. It brings out a lot of parts of people, parts of women, to be able to honor yourself in taking the time to spend a few minutes doing a mandala or something of that nature.
And don't you think, Teresa, it brings you back to a very happy time of childhood?
Yes.
Things were seemingly, and actually probably, more carefree, and you used to kind of do it idly, and it's okay to do that because your mind is never idle, your thoughts are never idle. But sometimes doing something I'm a doodler. I pet my dog. Because that calms me as it calms her, and we're giving and we're getting at the same time, and
simple things. But all of these simple things lead us to be better leaders in our lives. So let's talk about some of the characteristics that you have experienced, Beth, of someone who is a good leader and leading from an abundant standpoint. What are some of the things that you could share with these women on what would be good things?
I think the most important thing is always to be in touch with your why. Why is it important to you? Why are you leading in this? What's the why? What's the purpose? Where are you? Where do you want to go? Why do you want to get there? What do you want to do when you get there? It's really knowing those things. And while also in that process of determining it and then taking that journey is to be very open-minded to all of the input around you. Because I find that the greatest leaders that I've known, and I've been blessed to know many, are also the best students. They're teachers, but they're also the best students. It's having that willingness and just that awareness that every day is a learning opportunity and that there is always much to learn. And being a leader doesn't mean to assume that you are a know-it-all. Being a leader is not about that at all. And I love learning something new every day. I do learn something new, probably many, many things every day. Certainly every time I talk to a new person, a new member, you learn something. So I think the greatest thing is your why. Someone asked me something one time. They said, what is your why? Like, let's say about and why not? If I'm capable of doing it and I have a passion for it and I can place it on the right priority in my life, I view it as a responsibility then. And why not? Why not? In that process, if I looked back, and I probably don't even remember, which is a good sign, actually. No, in this case, it's a good sign. That when I sat down and started to dream about the IWLA and its purpose, and its mission statement, if I could go back to the very beginning of that, I think what I would hope to find is that the core value is exactly the same, but that many things have changed along the way in all these years because I was open-minded. I listened to other people. They helped me define my purpose better. And those are all necessary skills in leadership. Women have to understand there are so many different types of leadership. Leadership is not equal to ownership. It's not equal to being in charge. It's not those things. There are very, very big differences. And sometimes the person who's a most or quite an effective leader is that quiet person in the back of the room who somehow goes out and has her own little team that she's building out in the community or in the workplace and comes back to the next meeting and has it all done. She had her own little team out there, right? And they were all in motion and they were all doing stuff. She wasn't on the stage, but she led for her little goal within the bigger project. That's what women have to honor, that followers are also leaders in a relative position with other people. I use a lot of sports analogies. You take LeBron James, you take Steph Curry, the best basketball players on the planet today. They have coaches. They have teammates.
Yeah.
They don't do it by themselves.
Exactly. I think that's really key, what you just said. You don't have to do it all by yourself. How many of you feel like you've got so much on your plate that you're in overwhelm, or you just don't feel like you can do one more thing and feel like you're doing it all by yourself? I encourage you to enlist the skills of others, because there are people like, for me, I mean that little thing that you saw on the opening there, Doreen mentioned that to me, that she had one done for herself or for somebody else. And I was like, oh, I've always wanted to, I can't figure out how to do this. She says, why do you want to figure it out? Go to Fiverr and pay somebody a few bucks and they'll do it for you. And that's exactly what I did. So if you've got things that you can delegate, that's building the leadership muscle. Yeah. Yeah.
Good word. Delegate. Very, very important function of leadership. It's also practicality, which women tend to be. So again, it goes back to prioritizing. It goes back to what your purpose is, because we can all, there's some great commercials on TV now, and I can't remember, it's an insurance company, and oh, did you call them to find out? And the guy goes, no, I'm weeding, I'm planting, I'm cleaning the living room. Like, we'll find reasons to put off the most important things sometimes. Those are just called excuses. That's really not being in touch with your purpose, or that your why just isn't big enough. That's when you need to delegate. That's when you need to build your team. One of the biggest parts of good leadership, building your team.
I think you're absolutely right. And I think we talked about this a little earlier, so I'm just going to go to a couple of things that we talked about. Being authentic, like being who you are and not trying to lead like someone else. Lead from your own strengths, right? Well,
you know what? Great point. God, you're good. That's why you're leading us today. It's a natural thing. When you see someone who you admire, you want to imitate them. It's like the karaoke effect. You want to get up and try to sound like the person. You never do. Guess what? You don't need to. No one expects you to. You should take what you can from many, many people and put it into your own leadership portfolio, your own personality portfolio, and make the best of it. But when you try to imitate somebody else, you automatically take yourself out of your authentic self. And guess what? In a short time, that becomes very hard to sustain. And what often happens is that you just quietly disappear because people stop listening to you. Why? Because there's someone else that you're imitating who is the real deal that they can go and listen to.
Exactly.
Right. You lose your value and you dishonor yourself when you do that.
I love that. Dishonor yourself when you're pretending to be somebody who you're not. So I'm all about the authenticity. So
yes.
And I think that each one of us is given gifts and talents when we come to this planet, and that it is our obligation to use them. I read somewhere one time, and I'm going to quote this, but I don't know that if it's correct, and I don't know who did it. So whoever's listening, if it belongs to you, own it. God gives us each gifts and talents. That's his gift to us. Our gift back to him is how we use them to change the world. Changing the world could be bringing up the next Einstein, who knows, or the next Derek Jeter, or the next LeBron James, or the next best grocery checker that there is on the planet.
Whatever.
It doesn't matter who. But let's, and part of the way that we get to be good leaders as well is, besides the authenticity factor and using some of the skills that we have, I think that one of the skills that everybody needs to learn is listening. Being a good leader means to have good listening skills. And I know we talked about this earlier, so let's go there for a minute.
You said earlier in my bio, and this truly is where I got my listening skills. We were typically 10 people around a dinner table. Very blessed, big family. And not that it worked out mathematically equally every single night, but over the course of time, everybody spoke. These were the days when, families sat down for dinner and all together. And over the course of each dinner, everybody spoke. What did you do today? How was the game? How was that lesson? How was your Girl Scout meeting? Whatever the case may be. So if there's 10 people and everybody's speaking, let's assume mathematical equality here for a moment. Say that 90% of the time you were listening, and only 10% of the time you were speaking. And then the other 90% of people were listening to you. So in that way, and as an adult with all my siblings and nieces and nephews and what have you, when I chat with people, they're always amazed how much my family knows about other family members. They go, how do you know so much about your brothers and sisters? And how do you know something? Well, first of all, I love them, but I ask a question and then I listen.
Mm-hmm.
I care, and every woman does care. But we've all, I think, I've certainly experienced it, where you're in what you think is a conversation, and really the person with whom you think you're communicating, and you're really not, they're just waiting for your noise to stop and waiting for their turn to speak. First of all, that's not communication. Conversation means sharing words with. So it's about listening and then responding. And every response doesn't have to begin with I, the word I, and making it only and always and ultimately about yourself. And as a listener, and if you become keen to that, just become aware of it, you will see how many people do that. Top journalists. I was saying to my husband, sometimes like the morning news shows, which I watch all the time, I say, why do they book all these guests? They have these guests, they ask them a question, and then they don't give them time to answer the question, and they're off and they're bringing on another guest. So quality, quantity, abundance. I say to members, if you ask me a question, I think I deserve the right to give you the answer. You deserve the right to hear it. And listening, gosh, it's a gift that you give yourself, and it's a gift certainly that you give to others.
Right. And Lily put in here, and this is a great thing to remember. We are to listen more than we are to speak. That's why we were created with 2 ears and 1 mouth.
Obviously. Yes.
Yeah.
Love that.
Thanks, Lily. That was a great ad. Thank you so much. So, and I think the other thing too, I do my best to have a positive attitude and a positive outlook and share that positivity with other people. It's contagious. It's contagious. And so is gratitude. So, being grateful for a job well done by one of your team members and recognizing that for them. These are some of the things that I feel like are necessary for good leadership. And if you can expand on any of that, Beth, that would be great.
Yes, again, another big conversation here, but women, and I'm going to dare to say this, women, I think more so than men, and listen, in the IWLA, we have such magnificent women, that givers. They really are making a difference and look to help others to make a difference. And thank you, everybody who does that, whether you're in the IWLA or not. I want people to realize that energy begets energy. That when you, let's say, exercise, if you're like, oh my God, I'm so tired, that's when you need to exercise the most. And if you exercise and it's physics, it's the first law, a body in motion stays in motion. So if you keep giving, if you keep doing, you never run out. It will come back to you. It will come back to you. So as an athlete continues to practice, they only get better at it. They're more energized. So don't feel that if you give it away, that you will have nothing left to give. It doesn't work that way. It comes back to you usually in multiples. So energy begets energy. Give it away, as Teresa said earlier, it creates space for you to receive more back. And you will. You will. It's just the law of the universe. It's physics. A body in motion stays in motion. Keep giving, keep giving, keep giving. It will come back to you. Now, I don't want to make that sound like that contradicts the inability to say no. It's giving the way you choose to give, the way it serves your purpose in your moment toward your goals. Believe me, you are of the greatest service to the most number of people when you are at your greatest strength and serving your purpose. So give it away, it'll come back. It's a boomerang effect.
I agree. And, we're focusing on our individual strengths here. And I want to remind everybody that, you are a huge proponent of collaboration and not comparing yourselves to one another. And I want to share, this really hit me right between the eyes, this quote that I'm going to give you from Jan Van Sant that is totally relevant to leadership and finding your own style, finding your own voice, finding who you are, and not comparing yourself to other people. So she says that comparing yourself to others is an act of violence against your authentic self. Take that in for a moment. Comparing yourself to others is an act of violence against your authentic self. I love that quote because it allows me to really be present with who I am and be comfortable, not necessarily in the beginning as we discover ourselves. And that's one of the big things that Transformational Tuesdays brings to everybody. And the IWLA gives the opportunity for us to grow into the authentic people, the authentic leaders, the authentic women that we are. And I think that it's important that we come from a space of collaboration and instead of comparison and competition. So I have to ask you, because I know that you're busting right now.
I'm huge on collaboration. And again, I go back to how I was raised, a big family. Everything was done in a team spirit. If it were like, I'm trying to think of an example. Okay, if we get the dishes done, we can all get in the car and go out for ice cream. It would be foolhardy for 9 people to sit and watch one person do it. If 9 other people making 10 people all got in and pitched in, it's teamwork. That's what collaboration is. It's that ability, that willingness to share. And it's just smart. It's just smart. If you take time to reinvent the wheel that need not be reinvented, by the way, all you're doing is wasting time. So become a spoke on a wheel that already exists. Mm-hmm. Widen that wheel. Help the momentum of that wheel go faster and farther and have more impact. That's collaboration. But if you come from secretive, like I don't want to share, I can't even relate to that. Again, when you're from a big family, you have to share. I don't want to share. I don't want to tell. I believe that it has to go both ways. There has to be a fairness. There has to be a sense of, I don't want to say equality, meaning exactly the same, because in any given moment, it might be more to the benefit of one party than the other, but ultimately it will come back. It's like women with kids, oh, I'll pick up the kids today, and if you can pick them up tomorrow. Well, that's a collaborative exchange. And information has to be shared. Only when information is shared and put into action does it have any value to anybody. So if you're looking to enhance your leadership skills, if you're looking to have an impact as a leader, you have to be a sharer, because otherwise, who are you leading?
There you
You
go.
have followers. You need to have followers. Those are your collaborative partners, by the way. If you have no followers, you're not a leader. You might have innate leadership skills. You just don't understand how to use them yet. And we're here to help you figure out how to identify your best leadership skill, your leadership type, and then say, how can you effectively put those goals, those skills, those desires that you have, put them into motion to serve you and others to your greatest potential. That's how you lead.
Exactly. So what are some of the leadership types you can identify for those that are watching or listening?
This is something I learned rather recently, and I learned it from a member of the International Women's Leadership Association, Catherine, and I thank her for that, is, we think of leaders somehow, I did, I've been in leadership roles my whole life, recognized by peers and colleagues as a student, the captain of this, the president of that, that people put you into your leadership roles. So you think that all people of leadership have to be very extroverted people. You don't. Still waters run deep. You look at Gandhi, you look at Mandela, great leaders, outstanding leaders, but they were quiet. They were more introverted souls. And yet look at the impact that they had. You don't have to be the loudest. You don't have to be the best really at anything. You don't. You have to be a magnet that attracts other people. What will attract other people? Your purpose, your why, you're willing to share, how they can collaborate with you. And again, it just keeps all these words, they just keep circling around. They're all pieces of the same puzzle. So I believe collaboration is not only necessary, it's smart.
Yeah, I agree. So here's a question. Are you, for everyone who's listening, are you showing up so that you can be part of the puzzle, the collaborative puzzle to put together a world of women in leadership? Do you feel you are? It's a great question. You don't have to answer out loud if you don't want to. If you want to share some of your thoughts on this, it would be great to have the interaction. By the way, I love the fact that I invite you, this is an interactive conversation. So if you have something to say, your voice is welcome. And if you can see me, just raise your hand and I'll open your line. And if you have something that you want to say that you're on the phones and you can't see me, just text 570-230-4185. Philomena put something in the chat box for listening, about listening. She says, completely listening is difficult because it's a natural human, psychological, physiological that we can speak at about 160 words per minute, but humans can listen at about 400 words per minute. I didn't know this. The brain has lots to do while listening to speakers. So, I'm going to have to tell you that I noticed that myself. It's like, oh, that's a great piece of information. Let me write it down. Oh, how can I use that in my life? When something strikes me. Do you agree with that, Beth?
Oh, absolutely. I don't know those statistics. I'll accept that they're absolutely true. Fascinating. Thank you, Philomena. I learned yet another thing today, and it's early afternoon, so it's a good day. I think more than anything, listening is about the willingness to let somebody else be heard, and it's about the willingness to understand that in that moment, that might be the most important thing for that person, that no one has listened. And I experience this all the time through the IWLA, that because we listen And because we share, and because we collaborate, it validates the person that you're listening to. It honors that person. So again, the statistics, I'll trust they're true, but just know that that it's a gift, and that our mind can work so fast, but what resonates with you will come back to you later in the day. I find that all the time. I'll feel a phrase, I go, where did I hear that? Who said that? I go, oh my gosh, Teresa said that today on the call. Teresa said that today. It'll come back because you heard it. You heard it, but you listened. And when you listen, you can kind of go, save. And it's in there, and it become part of your unconscious, subconscious thoughts. And when you need that reference, and Teresa, you are such a great example of that. You pull these references out all the time because somewhere along the line, you heard it, you listened, you captured it, you pressed save, and now it's in that body of work that we know as the fabulous Teresa Velardi, and you can pull it out and use it at the right time when someone else is willing to listen to you and hear what you have to say.
And it's amazing. Anybody else relate to that? You get a bit of information and you're not sure exactly why you have it, but when you need it, it comes to you at the exact time, and it changes somebody's perspective, or it gets information for someone to use in that given moment, and it just shows up at the right time. Anybody else experience that? I mean, Catherine, I see you. Yeah. I just, it's just amazing what happens. So, and I have an incredible thirst for knowledge. And I think that's another skill, another attribute of a good leader. Be willing to learn. You said this, be willing to learn and recognize that, everything that we know, we may not necessarily need. But, I believe that what we don't need gets thrown out of the memory banks. What we do comes to the surface exactly at the time that we need it. So I'm constantly learning. And a good leader goes to other leaders for not just validation, but for personal growth. I mean, I always have a coach in my life. Always have a coach in my life. Would you encourage people to do that, Beth?
Absolutely. You should have coaches in your life always. People who are objective coaches, and I mean the opinions of those that you love, your siblings, your coworkers, your best friends, your neighbors, etc. I always say be careful how you use those, because they tend to err on the side of negativity to protect you. I always say find people, coaches, true coaches, real coaches, who listen objectively, who totally listen to you objectively. And I have found that in listening to people that I've coached, and I let them keep going and let them keep going, and all of a sudden it's like they uncover their own answer as they're speaking, because someone is listening to them and it's letting their information flow. Yes, you always need a coach, many coaches. You need a mentor.
Yeah.
Different than a coach. You need to understand what the difference between a mentor and a coach is. And if your business is best served by having a consultant, have a consultant. Yet again, a completely different relationship. A mentor, a coach, a consultant.
Can you quickly define them for the listeners?
A mentor is someone, and let me explain this, that a mentor and a mentee, that's a beautiful relationship. Typically, the mentor chooses the mentee. It could be a college professor, a trusted elder that comes from you anywhere, someone that you know from anywhere. The mentor typically identifies their mentee, literally takes them under their wing. We kind of connect the word protege, in a sense, to good mentorship. Coaching is someone who typically you hire. You have a coach who meets your goals, who serves you in the best way, that you create a timeline with, and a series of goals and a series of conversations that helps you uncover for yourself what it is that you need to do. You got to do it to get to the next step. And encourages you, and I don't want to say holds you by the hand. Sometimes we kick you in the butt. I mean, if that's what you need, that's what we're here to do. We gotta serve you best. And then a consultant is someone who you say, I'm going to hire you. I can't do bookkeeping as I do, but if you can't do bookkeeping, don't take the time to learn it. Hire someone as a bookkeeping consultant, as someone who can keep your books, and do it, and free yourself up to do something else. Again, leadership doesn't mean you're doing it all. Sometimes, guess what? Did I share with you, Teresa? Maybe we're going to have one of those moments. Someone brought a lovely young woman to me not that long ago and wanted me to kind of, wanted feedback, wanted me to have a conversation, mostly listen. He was kind of asking the questions, and he wanted me to kind of take in the information because I'm known to be a listener. And I had to intervene at one point because this young woman who was full of energy and full of life and I think great aspiration, and I believe she had great talent, potentially down the road, she needed to be coached, shared a story about how she was in a situation where she was supposed to be the leader. She was really in a management position, which is a type of leadership, but managers typically have leaders above them as well. Management and leadership, they can come together, but they really are different things. So she went on to tell me, and she did this quite boastfully, to say, oh, and I was the youngest person there, and everybody had a job to do, and no one was listening to me. So I ended up having to do it all. It was great. So I said to her, so basically, you were a leader with no followers. And she said, yes, yes. Right over her head.
Yeah.
Right over her head. So again, that's where building a team, collaborating, and everything. You know what? Probably most important, I just think, listen to yourself.
Yeah.
Listen to yourself. Listen to what's in your own heart. Mm-hmm. Listen to what are your own goals. Follow your own gut. Typically, we are right. And what I always say is when you go, as I was saying, in describing the differences between a mentor, a coach, and a consultant, I'm not saying don't go to the people that you trust the most, but oftentimes you're going to them, and I've experienced this myself, and you're almost looking for them to, well, first of all, you don't need their permission to serve yourself and your own goals, but sometimes you're looking for a reason not to do it. Someone told me I shouldn't do this. When I was starting the IWLA, I knew one of my first things was, don't tell your sisters about this.
Yeah.
My sisters, my biological sisters, because they would have said, why do you want to do that? Isn't someone else already doing that? Oh my gosh, that's so much work, Beth. That's this. Why do you want? And they're entitled to those opinions. I knew what they would have been before I even heard them. So I didn't ask them until it was all done. And then they were like, wow.
Yeah.
I don't need permission. No one does. No one needs permission to be great. And no woman needs to apologize when she is.
Yay.
Yay.
Yay. I like that. You don't need permission to be great, and you don't need to apologize when you are. And there's another question. There's another quote about being great. I don't know. Again, I don't know who it is. But it's getting started. You don't need to be great to get started. You need to start to be great.
Yes.
So, if you're in a place of wanting to do something, the perfection factor and the permission factor, throw them right out the window. Take imperfect action. My coach now says, take imperfect action. And I love what you shared about the difference between consulting, coaching, and mentoring. And somebody got a question here. What I want to say about that is consulting is more of a done for you kind of thing, right? And a coaching is a done with you kind of a relationship, So, and the other thing is when you're choosing a coach or a consultant, or agree to be mentored by somebody, or agree to mentor somebody else, my best opinion I can give you on that is make sure that person is interested in you and your growth, not in spouting their own abilities.
No, exactly. In all of those relationships, they have to serve you. It's never about them. And I've heard so many horror stories, really bad horror stories, about people who have paid significant money to coaches where the coach wanted to reinvent the person. That's not our right. It's not our responsibility, nor is it, in my opinion, in the realm of possibility.
Mm-hmm.
So it's about that objectivity of just being the person who says, okay, here we are. The next step we're going to do is this. And again, going back to that accountability, when you call again, you have your next chat with your coach. It's like you have homework, so between sessions, if you will. And so how are you? Where are you? Not where are we, because it's never about the coach. Again, the consultant is, okay, I can do this for you and I'm going to charge you this much money. And if that's what you agree, that's what you agree. The mentorship is such a beautiful, beautiful relationship. Oftentimes, it could be a college professor, a parent, someone who is in your field of expertise. You don't even have to know them quite personally, but you communicate with them in such a way that they lovingly support you.
Yeah, exactly.
They lovingly support you. They go to you, but understand the difference and choose all of them wisely.
And Lily says here, and you just touched on this, the first step is to look at ourselves in the mirror and find out who we are today, in this moment, here, at this time in our lives. Look at your own dreams and start walking on that path, discovering every day something new. And thank you for that, Lily. That's the role of a great leader, because when people who are following you are watching you step authentically into who you actually are, who you were created to be, using your gifts and talents, and leading from an area of abundance and authenticity, taking time to fill up your cup, and leading from a place of fullness. When I say this, I think of that, anybody ever been to a wedding where they have the champagne glasses all put into a tower, and they start by putting the champagne at the top, and it kind of like flows and fills up everything look at yourself as the top champagne glass as a leader. You're being filled to overflowing in abundance and filling up everybody that is below you, if you will. Not that they're actually physically below you, but who you are leading. And you're moving from this place of, coming from a place of overflow to abundantly overflowing, not where you're overwhelmed and depleted. So that's a really, really great picture that helps me to know, okay, when I'm asking myself whether I'm busy to overwhelm, or whether I'm having a conversation like this, am I coming from a place of being able to share something, or am I at the bottom of the barrel and not being able to find anything within me to give? So that's a good question to ask yourself in any given situation before you open your mouth.
Right.
Yeah. So we have another comment here from, let me see, Mekeva, Mekeva. And she says that she loves us both. We're both beautiful women. Thank you very much, Mekeva. I'll take that. She had a question that you did answer. She wanted to know the difference between a coach, a mentor, and a consultant, and the roles that they play. And you hit the nail on the head in the coffin, she says. Oh. Yes, you gave me clarity on a lot of things. So thank you for that.
Is that Mekeva Miller?
I am not sure. She didn't put her last name. But Mekeva, Mekeva.
I think I know the wonderful, actually a delegate of the International Women's Leadership Association. I had the great pleasure of interviewing Mekeva, I think last week, and had a wonderful, wonderful discussion. She has such innate leadership skills, and as she just demonstrated, always willing to acknowledge someone else and to learn from somebody else.
Yeah, and that's another great leadership skill, acknowledging somebody else for their skills and their abilities and their contributions. Philomena, you have your hand up. Let me open your line real quick. Hang on. Okay, here we go. Can you hear me? Now wait. Yeah, there you go.
Yes, I can. Can you hear me fine?
Yes.
Hi, Beth. Nice to see you.
Hi.
You probably can't see me because the sun is shining up. Okay, there we go. I had a comment. I had a comment on the distinction between a coach, a mentor, a therapist, and a consultant. I used years ago in '96 when I first became a coach. A coach, well, I'll start with the consultant. A consultant will help you buy the best bicycle you want to buy to go touring. and the mentor will tell you how they went on a tour on this specific bicycle, where they went and how they got around these obstacles. A therapist will help you determine why you're afraid to get on that bicycle, what happened in the past. And a coach will actually buy the same bicycle with you and follow you along or side by side until you reach your destination.
Yeah.
So that was the distinction.
That's a great metaphor. That's visual, something that we all can relate to. And yeah, we added the therapist component in there, which we hadn't originally spoken about. But thank you. Thank you for sharing that. That's a great way to take one thing, the bicycle, and the roles that different people play. Beautiful. Thank you for sharing that.
Thanks, Philomena. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
So, so that was great using that. I'm going to have to remember that. I'm going to write that down.
Well, when you need it, it'll be there. You'll pull it up.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed, I will. So I can't believe our hour is gone by already.
No way.
Yeah. And I want to, before we close, before I ask you to give more information about the IWLA and a couple of other things, Transformational Tuesday-wise, I just want to let everybody know, if you're a leader or you're an inspiring leader, you're a leader anyway. We are leaders, whether we're leading our own lives, leading our children, leading other people at work, leading people in a conversation at church or about a book or something. I just want to assure you something that Zig Ziglar says that I've always held close to my heart, and I pulled it up so I could get it correctly, and I could actually credit him with this. You can have everything you want in life if you will help other people get what they want. And I think that is the bottom line of being a leader, that there are great rewards in so many areas of life. And it doesn't just have to be monetarily, emotional, relationally, all these different ways that we can be, when we step into that leadership role, we are helping other people get what they want, and we are rewarded immensely for that in so many different ways. So, Beth, let's talk about how people can get involved with the International Women's Leadership Association. What's the best way for them to contact you? And by the way, Makiva says, yes, it's Makiva Miller. That's who she is. So, how do we get in touch with you? How do we?
Well, the best way to get in touch with me
people need to know about. Is there anything coming up that people need to know about with the IWLA that you want to?
Oh my gosh, there's always something coming up. We support these calls. We sponsor, promote these calls every week. The calls to teleclasses on Wednesday mornings. The events of our members. We're here to be of service to you. People call and I'll say, what do you need? Or people will call me and say, can you help me? I say, if I can, of course I will. What do you need? That's communicating. So the IWLA is very, very flexible. We are really here to be of service. If you need us to be a square peg, we'll be a square peg. A round peg, we'll be a round, so that we fit together. So the best way to be in touch with me is via email. Very simply, it's Beth, BETH, at THEIWLA. So Beth at theiwla.com. Would love to hear from everybody. If not today, anytime, when we can be of service to you. That is what it's all about. And in saying that, that's why we're all here. It's being of service to each other. And when you put all of that energy together, I don't believe there's anything that cannot be accomplished to its greatest goal, to its greatest purpose, for its greatest honor, and for the betterment of mankind, womankind. So Beth at the IWLA, love to hear from members. My favorite part of the day, doing something like this or talking one-on-one. We are developing with wonderful, wonderful resources, leadership workshop programs that will be coming up that will be actual and virtual, depending on where you are and how you can participate. So let us know what you need. We have the resources. You are the resources. You are each other's resources. Mm-hmm. And it's coming together in that collaborative spirit that we fill each other. that we learn from each other, that we serve each other, and that each one of us has that role to play. And I always say, if you can, you should. Teresa mentioned earlier, you know, the blessings that God gives you are not yours to keep, they're yours to share. And in so doing, you honor those blessings. You honor He who gave them to you, and you honor others who don't have the same blessings, because they're going to give back to you. So leadership, while it sounds like the one-man band, is really more like the conductor of the orchestra, where everybody has a different instrument, and it's when you come together that the music is magical, that the harmony is rich, that the experience is so positive for everybody else. So you want to be a one-man band? Be a one-man band. It can still be a nice experience, but wouldn't you love to be part of a huge, you know, the symphony, and to be part of that and to be a contributor, because the world needs women to serve, and nobody wants to serve, I don't believe, more than women in today's world. And for those of us who are from places where women can be in these roles, as opposed to women who live in places that don't have the opportunity to have a voice be heard, we need to honor them. Mm-hmm. We need to honor those who can't do what we can do. We need, and we'll be serving them, because together we will make a change. We will make a change. The world needs, and it's not all about politics. It's not all about ideologies. It's about bringing all of that together. Be that puzzle piece. Fit in where you fit best. And if you don't want to be on that puzzle, we'll create another puzzle and be a piece on that puzzle.
I love that.
We're women. There's nothing we can't do.
Exactly. I almost could see you belting out, what's her name, Helen Redding's song, "I am woman, hear me roar."
Roar. Oh my gosh. Well, I yell at the television. My husband says, well, now you know why I like to, you know, catch the news before you get home, because I'm an active participant in pretty much everything, I guess, that I do. And that's okay. That's just me. I don't, you know, I have two sisters who we're within 3 years of each other, 3 girls, 3.5 years. God help my parents. And we are also similar in the big ways, in the core values, in who we are as human beings. And yet we each have our wonderful distinctions. We each have, you know, we all have blue eyes, but they're all different shades of blue. We all have different color hair. We're a little bit different in height. So those are the things that make us individuals. And yet, and we honor all that. So when you're talking about comparing, I don't compare myself to them. They don't need to compare themselves to me. They have wonderful lives quite different than mine. But perhaps I couldn't do what they do so well, and they couldn't do what I do, I hope, well enough. And that's okay. That's the balance. If we all could do the exact same thing, the exact same way, to the exact same level of skill set, we would be a stagnant society. So what? Nobody would need anybody else.
And it would be boring.
Lonely, too. Boring.
Yes.
Very, very lonely.
Yeah.
Never want to be alone. Teresa, I know we're past our time, and I apologize, but is there anybody who has a question that we can, is there a way to hang out a little bit longer? Does anybody have a question?
We can hang out if it's okay. If anybody wants to stay for a little longer, wait, put your hand up, please.
If anybody has something
Stay for a little bit. If you can stay for a little bit, raise your hand. Okay. Anyone have a question, a comment they wanna chime in on here?
I don't want to leave anybody hanging.
Right. Remember, if you are on the phone, just text 570-230-4185, and let's, I think it's 4185. I have to go back and look now. Are you kidding me? 570-230-4185. That's correct. And I have a new message in here, so let me just go back here. Wanda says she has a doctor's appointment, but thank you so much. She's been greatly helped by this conversation.
Thank you for being part of it, and good luck at the doctor's appointment.
Thank you, Wanda. Thank you so much for being here. Come back to Transformational Tuesdays again. And so this is just one of many conversations you can hear on Transformational Tuesdays. And actually, when I brought Transformational Tuesdays back in September, it was, I have to say, it was by prodding of my good friend Beth Johnston, who said, Teresa, bring it back. And I decided that that's what I wanted to do. I did Transformational Tuesdays for about 2 years before that, maybe even 3. So when you go to transformationaltuesdays.com and you click on the replay page, you can see all of the audio calls are there since we began. And September of 2015, you can listen to another conversation that Beth and I had on an audio call. We just recently, over the last couple of months, brought this Zoom platform. And I have to tell you, it is so awesome to see your beautiful faces. It's like, you know, I hear people on the phone all the time, and it's like, oh, I wonder if what it's like to be face to face with that person. So for those of you whose faces I can see, thank you for showing up in this capacity. For those of you who are on the phone, thank you for showing up in that capacity. And wherever you're comfortable, that's where we want you to be.
Yes.
Show up however is best for you.
Yes.
You know, there is no competition. You don't have to be like everybody else.
No.
But, you know, so that's good. So if you want to hear, Karen Mayfield says, you're right on, girl.
Hi, Karen.
I'm going to open Karen's line. Karen's such a hoot. I love her. Stay a little, keep her in your thoughts, please. She lives in Arkansas. And, you know, she's in a place where she got hit with 2 tornadoes over the last few years and moved to a different area. And straight line winds took the top off of one of her barns. She has a horse farm. And so, Karen, our thoughts and our prayers are with you as you go through yet another experience of high winds and tornado in your life. So thanks for coming to the call today. Your line is open.
Oh, okay. I'm sitting here going, well, listen to this. Well, you know, it's just, you know, I try to look at everything. I take a problem and I look for its possibilities. And if you keep the blind faith, well, pretty soon the possibilities will rise up where you can see them. So my thinking was that now, yeah, the top did come off and the barn was just a year old. But no animals were hurt, and I had a bunch of my stuff that was stored in there. That this internal voice, you know, that talks to me, was saying, you know, you need to get down there and you need to sort through all that stuff, and you need to get rid of everything that you're not going to use. This is not about downsizing. This is about getting to the right size of all this stuff that you have that fits into your life right now and doesn't hold you back. So I ignored those little deals, and so guess what happens? The roof comes off, all my clothes are laying in there, they're soaking wet. And so that's just, you know, it's like, okay, when something in your mind tells you to step up and step into something and get it done, I think my lesson has been do it.
Yes, yes.
So,
and God has a very high opinion of you, I assure you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, gosh.
So Karen, I want to give you an opportunity because one of the things that I think as women in leadership, and just so those people who know, Karen Mayfield is the founder of Wake Up Women, and she's just an amazing individual helping women around the world, just as the International Women's Leadership is. And I think that and Beth, you said this earlier, and I had this conversation with Karen yesterday. As women today, we are called upon, and not in a political way, not in a religious way, not in any other way, we are called upon to bring the best that we are to the world today and bring our leadership to the world today. And this world is so broken right now. So I encourage you to, in any capacity, bring who you are to the conversation of positive transformation for the people of the world today. And Karen has a page on Facebook. It's Wake Up Women of Prayer for Peace. And I want to invite you, if you have it in your heart that peace is something you would like to see during your lifetime, go to that page. Karen, did you say you're doing at 11:11 Central Time? Tell me.
Yes, we've already had prayer time today, but that's okay. It's, you know, they were praying in the Middle East today, Pakistan, and they had to stay up late, you know, for them. But I really know that prayer gets results, and especially when we put the prayer out there of positivity and peace and, you know, helping each other and all the stuff that Beth talked about. This is all energetic replays that work well in prayer.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. So if that's something that you do, or sending positive thoughts or something, just like from a leadership standpoint, you know, send positive thoughts, send good words, good thinking to someone else. And really, I love that. I love that you're on the call, Karen. And I love what Beth said about, you know, about from a leadership standpoint, it's time for us to make a difference in the world. We are the women, and this is, to use a phrase from the book of Esther, we are women who are here for such a time as this. There is no coincidence that we are having this conversation, that we are involved in these type of conversations, that we are leading other people, you know, and that we are taking and really grabbing hold of who we are created to be. So let go of the fear factor, step into the abundance, step into the courage. We were meant to be courageous.
Yeah.
Yeah. Beth?
Well, you know something?
Go ahead.
It's true. I meet so many women that have such fantastic leadership qualities, but yet they just don't tap into them. And I'm just like, oh man, if you could just do, you know, people will be talking to me and I'm going from mentor to coach to consultant to therapist without a license to, you know, I mean, sometimes, you know, when you start working with somebody, there's a lot of different things going on. And if you're flexible enough as a coach or whatever, you kind of vacillate back and forth in those areas. And I see all these women with such fantastic leadership qualities, but yet they've got to reach out and grab a hold of a group of women that are moving. And, you know, get off of our little booties and get with the program, because we are the ones who are going to save this world.
I agree.
And this is it. It's up to us. And if we don't, and it's not about political or religion, or this is about women coming together to really fix what's going on here.
Yeah.
And you know, almost concurrently, the Dalai Lama and Warren Buffett, two leaders, lead from completely different directions. I don't think you would kind of, you know, equate them necessarily in the same conversation. But two men of tremendous influence both said almost at the same time, the world will be saved by Western woman. And
yes.
No pressure on us, but yeah, the world is saved by the Western woman. And I think that, as we said at the beginning of the call, and maybe this is a great way to end, is that please, every woman, recognize that you have leadership built into you, and that it is your choice when you choose to use it. There is a time, there is a place. And if you're not sure what that is, please reach out to Beth at the IWLA. Let's talk. Let's help identify how you become the best contributor that you can be while you serve yourself as well. That's what we're here to do. And Beth at the IWLA.com.
Thank you, Beth. Thank you, Karen. We meet you back out again. And thank you to everyone who came. Catherine, thank you for stepping up here. She says if you want to get some leadership nuggets from Beth, she tweets them out all the time. So follow her on Ignite Solutions with a Z on the end.
Thank you, Catherine. Thank you.
Twitter. So she's little nuggets of Beth's wisdom out there. Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom, Beth. Thank you to all of you who have participated in this call. And for those of you who came here to listen, I'm sure that you have something to share. If you do, please go to Teresa Velardi on Facebook and share your thoughts. I will send out a follow-up where you will get the replay from this. The replay will also, as I said earlier, be posted on transformationaltuesdays.com, and Beth will have it on the resource page for the IWLA. Message her at Beth at the IWLA. Be sure to go to the IWLA for all the things that you need that are associated with this incredible organization. And thank you, Beth, for being a part of my life. You are indeed someone who has changed my life with your ability to lead. So thank you so much. And until next time, I invite all of you to come back to Transformational Tuesdays. And until then, enjoy what I like to call the transformational trails of life. See you next time, everybody.
God bless.